And hot.
Survivor specialists Phil and Alexa are back for our Edge of Extinction episode 11 predictions of power rankings. Today we're joined by Jessica Peet, who within the last 15 minutes we've pretty much done the entire podcast with without being live. Jessica is a huge Survivor fan. For anybody who wasn't sure about that, God, the conversation we just had, if that is any indication of what's about to happen on this podcast, this is going to be a fantastic podcast. Jessica, thank you for coming on, and thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. This is so much fun.
I'm excited to hear. You said you had like 200 different iterations of your 7 here, so I'm excited.
I like just keep on staring at the list, and I'm like, okay, I want to change that. I want to rearrange that. It's hard with how many good people that there are this season.
Yeah.
We allow for live rearranging. I do it all the time, so you're happy. You're welcome to switch them around as we're talking through this.
Okay, great. That's great. That's good to know.
We let Davey do it last week too, and I think it actually hurt him. So
I just wonder, like, have you been super accurate on these lists before?
I'm notoriously bad at these.
Oh, that's good. I probably will be too.
I think
Phil. You know the math on this better. But right now you're already beating us because of everybody else who came before you. So that's good.
Yeah. That's good. That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So you don't have that much pressure here. You just have to keep the lead. For me, it's like, for me, it depends on the season. Because I think during your season, I was really good. And this season, I've been pretty awful. Like, I'm not even close.
Yeah. I think I remember like watching a couple of the podcasts and you being like freakishly close. That was always one of the fun questions, is like whenever you come home and everybody's like, oh, well, like final 3, like, who do you think it's going to be? Like, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. Like, who do you think it's going to be? And like, whenever people would guess it the right way or like guess the right winner, and you just have to like turn your face and like have no expression. But in your head, you're thinking like, how do they know that? That's so weird.
Yeah.
Some people are just good at it.
There was one in Heroes, Healers, Hustlers where I said that Devin, Ben, Ryan, and Chrissy were all going to connect. And I said this at like final 16 or 15. And like, I think
you
said it on the first episode.
Did I
when Chrissy and Ryan had that idol thing.
Yeah, they had the idol thing. And I just randomly said it. And I said, this is going to be like the final 4. And then it was. And I got so many people like, were you spoiled on that? I'm like, no, I don't even remember saying it. It just came out and everybody else remembered. And I guess paid attention.
Like, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I just happen to be right. But yeah, on this season, I don't know if I've been right about anything. I've been screaming Victoria is going to win for the last 6 weeks. So we'll find out.
Hasn't lost yet.
Yeah, she's still there.
She's still in there.
Yeah, but Alexa got knocked out of the Eliminator game because of War Dog. So Jessica, what was your take on the War Dogs game here?
He listens.
Typically, I don't normally root for the people who play like how War Dog is playing. But for some reason, I just find him so captivating. Like I've been a really big War Dog fan. Probably because Lauren from Jump was one of my favorites. I find that I just connect with her in some way because I feel like we have like a similar type of character necessarily, like in Survivor. So I was rooting for her from Jump. So maybe because they worked together, I started to like him a little bit more. I think that he was trying to play a good game by making the move to get Kelly out. Like, obviously you want things on your resume. Maybe a little early. I feel like he probably could have made it a couple more votes if he would have just pushed that vote out. Because, I mean, you're going to want to get Kelly out regardless because she's a huge threat. Like, nobody's going to want to take Wentworth to the final 3. So I think their opportunity could have presented itself. I'm really sad to see him go, though. I really am. I really did like War Dog.
Yeah, I think War Dog, and I wonder if this, we'll try to talk to him after the season. I'm sure he'll come on because he follows us pretty closely. But I think because of Extinction Island, War Dog made that move as early as he did because he knew he was going to get a second chance. And I wonder if he was playing on a season where it was a normal season, you get voted out, you're done, and you go to the jury. I wonder if he would have made that move then, because I think like he could take a little bit more of a chance because he knows that even if it backfires on him, he's still in the game.
Yeah, you still have like a semi chance. I couldn't see myself making a move like that if I knew it was going to get me voted out to begin with, because the possibility of you getting on the show is so slim. Like, you're still on it, but like back into the game, it's huge. Like, I'm sure whenever people were looking at the challenge to get back on for the first round, no, I don't think I heard anybody say that Devins was going to get back in,
Mm-mm.
like out of that group.
No one would have said that.
No.
Yeah. So you never know. And to make to take a chance that big and to potentially eliminate yourself from the game just by getting out another person just so you go out next. To me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And when you're historically horrific at challenges, when Joe is on that island with you.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, honestly, whenever you're out there though, like the choices and decisions that you make probably aren't the same choices that you would make if you had a clear mind and you weren't in the game for as long as he was in there for. So you always kind of wonder like what goes through people's heads whenever they're making those big decisions in the game.
Yeah. All right. So then Extinction Island is here this time. You could have been Reem 1.0. That could have been you, Jessica.
Would you have been as brutal to your guests as Reem has been?
No, I wouldn't have been, but I think that's just the difference. Like I obviously would have like held some type of resentment to the people that voted me out. Like I probably wouldn't have been like the most welcoming to Lyrsa if she would have been on the island with me. But I can understand her frustrations though and her emotions and like being there as long as she has been and to have the one person there that's like almost responsible for you being there. I get where she's coming from. But if there would have been an Edge of Extinction on our season, you better believe I would have been there. It would have been hard. I would have been freezing, but I would have done it because so much goes into it beforehand.
Yeah, I think that if your season would have done it with the people who got voted out early, like you, Natalia, like I could just see all that. And then I would love Natalie Cole to just join all of you. And then you.
Yeah, that would have been great. I would have loved that.
That would have been a very interesting Edge of Extinction.
That would have been wild. So, but who would have been, so Jess, we know that your game was really tied to Pat. We didn't get to talk to you after the season. Right. So clear it up now because Carl's had his theory and we've heard other people say it, but who would have been the first person voted out of Survivor David versus Goliath?
It's so weird because I feel like we all go back and forth on this, but it definitely would have been two names on the chopping block. It would have either been Lyrsa or it would have been Nick. I would have loved for it to have been Nick because it would have like shifted the whole dynamic of the game. Like obviously the winner wouldn't be the winner. But overall, I feel like a lot of people felt strongly about voting Nick out, but if I was going to write a name down that night, I would have still written Lyrsa's name down. I would have much rather see Lyrsa go over Nick go. I love Lyrsa. Like now, outside of the game, she's great. But whenever we were together in the game, we just weren't really like meshing very well. And my main people, like Pat would have voted with me. However, Carl would have voted. We would have come to that consensus. Then we had like B and Davey and myself. So that would have been 5. And Christian and Gabby were in with us, but like they had their own thing going on. We all knew that. So in my opinion, I think it would have been Lyrsa, but I think it would have been split between the two of those people.
There you go. That's it.
The consensus that we've heard. Yeah.
And Jess would have been in the majority and so much different. Oh my God. It's crazy though how one moment it could have been Nick going home first. Instead, he wins the season. You could have been in the majority. Instead, you go home second. Pat goes home first, even though he probably wasn't going home. It's just crazy.
And it was really hard because, like, obviously in that moment, whenever all that stuff was happening with Pat, like, I'm so concerned about him, obviously, and like just trying to make sure he's okay and really feeling for him. And like, you're about to get pulled from the game. But I'm not gonna lie, like selfishly, there was a thought in the back of my mind where I was like, I'm losing a number. Losing a number. And then like Jeff tells us, oh, you guys aren't going to go to tribal. And whereas like, that's good in the moment, then it's still at the same point. We don't know where the lines are right now. Like we don't know who's with who. Like right now we're all still kumbaya. Like I want to know who's with who's actually going to vote with me. If we would have gone to tribal that night, it probably would have been, if Pat went, it probably would have been Lyrsa, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, sorry to make you relive it, but
no, it's okay.
Just don't really dive into it. But when you said like, oh, selfishly in the back of my mind, I was realizing I was losing a number. You always see, at least from the viewer's perspective, there's always a confessional where someone says, this is so terrible and this is awful for my game. But you have to, like, you can't ever fault someone for that because that's the context that you're in. Yeah.
Well, obviously like the overwhelming thought was just like, we knew Pat. It's extremely strange how close you all become, especially in our season, specifically with the weather being how it was. It really forced us to all like get to know each other. Like we didn't our tribe didn't really like go out and look for a ton of idols in that first few times of like being on camp. Like we were all just together and getting to know each other. So to really feel bonded to somebody in such a short period of time and for him to be taken out of the game in such a brutal way was really hard on all of us. And then facing the fact that like it was affecting our numbers, it was going to affect our performance and challenges. Like it was a lot to take in on an already emotional experience. So that leads to very teary confessionals, which is great for TV.
Yeah, great for TV. Yeah. No, I got to meet Pat at the finale stuff last season. He's like such a positive guy about it all anyway. So it's good. It's good that it's good to see that everybody who like has a worse experience, not the non-winners, the people who don't go to Final Five and get the huge edits, still have such like a positive take on it most of the time.
Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely.
So, okay. So what else do we think about Edge of Extinction, Jess? Because you were giving your thoughts beforehand.
Yeah.
Let's hear the thoughts.
Let's hear them again.
Okay. So I'm a huge fan of this season. I've liked it since the first episode. I just think I love the twist of there being people brought back. I'm always a fan of that. Like I love newbie seasons, but to see a familiar face that you've rooted for in past seasons is always super cool. And then also the group that we're left with, I just think, I'd be happy to see any of these people win. I think it's a great group. I think it's abnormal for me to come this far into a season and to still be so excited about who the winner could potentially be. So in a season with a lot of people that are super likable, at least to me, I'm extremely excited to see who makes it to Final Three and who ends up winning. Because I mean, in the end, like this is going to be a life-changing win for any of them. And I think as a Survivor person I've watched from almost the beginnings of the seasons, to have a cast that still is this dynamic and different, but like gels pretty well together. And then to just try to pick the winner outside of all of the gameplay. And like, I just think it's going to be a really great rest of the season with all of these people. I really like them. I feel like I just rambled, but I just really like all of them.
It's incredibly refreshing to hear you say you like seasons where people have a chance to get back in, because I think a lot of people don't admit that or just don't say that. So it's cool to hear that, because I think everyone has been kind of sour on the Edge of Extinction twist. But but wait, what you and what we talked about before we were live, all 7 of these people and the 8th person who comes back, they all very well still could win. And I think it was Aurora who said last week, like, we're all threats. There's Kelly's on the jury, David's on the jury, Joe's on the jury. We're all on even playing field, which is cool because you really don't get to see that often.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always been a fan of like the seasons that have a twist. I mean, it would have been super cool for there to be a twist like that in my season. I mean, I know we briefly had something with Carl there, but to be voted out and then have the chance to get back in it, I love that. I just think that's so cool. What I think it was cool, like if I was in the game and I was still one of these people, and then all of a sudden there's going to be some random person back in the game, like I probably wouldn't like it then. But I love that. I love the twist, and I love the times where they bring back new people. I mean, old people. But I just like twists like that. Like newbie seasons are fun, but I just think that this just adds a different element to the game.
Yeah, and I think I like seasons where you don't know who's going to win, because I think sometimes it's too telegraphed. Like I think in your season, it was kind of obvious that Nick was going to win, especially like if he got there. Dom or Wendell, we didn't know which one was going to win, but one of them was going to win. Something was going to happen like that. That's why like I like Millennials vs. Gen X. I like Co-Wrong, because you really didn't know the entire time, or you started to think, is it going to be David? Is it going to be Aubrey? And it ends up being Michelle and Adam, and you're not really thinking that the entire time. So I like that. I think what's bothering people really bad on this season is there's too many people over at Extinction Island.
It's like a party over there now.
Yeah. Now there's 9 people there.
Then one other thing that I thought of is like, like if you get voted out early and they go on that pre-jury trip, I'm like, there's only 2 people on the pre-jury trip. Like that's kind of crazy.
Hope they like each other.
Yeah. That doesn't seem like it would be fun.
a lot of personal time spent with that. But yeah, I do agree with like I said beforehand, like I had people coming up to me while my season was still on, and like they would guess that Nick was the winner, and I like obviously would look away and like not give them any expression. But in my head, I'm thinking like, how the heck do they know that? And it's weird because I actually just recently went back and like rewatched some of the first few episodes of our season. And in the beginning, there are so many like edit times where they put Nick in saying like such heroic things where it's like he's saying like I'm either gonna win or I'm gonna die trying. And I'm like, dude, like you literally did win. That's so crazy to me. And then like in this season with Ghost Island, like I feel like from jump, like I knew I had my own personal favorites, obviously, for myself selfishly, but looking at it as a Survivor fan, I feel like it was very clear cut that it was either going to be Dominic or Wendell. And then it was just like, which one is it going to be out of the two of them? So I definitely agree that this season is extremely challenging. And what I will be excited to see is once there is a winner and I'm able to go back and rewatch it, knowing to try to see like where they were trying to play with the edit here on the show.
I've been promoting that. It's like, go back, you're going to rewatch a season and everybody's going to like it. Like, but right now in the moment, we don't like it because it's kind of like how Gabon was, where Gabon was just all over the place and then Bob wins and you go, what? Like, I loved Bob, but how did Bob just win this game? And how was like Sugar, who was being shoved down our throats here, get 0 votes and everybody's just screaming at her at Final Tribal, you know? And then she comes back on the Heroes Tribe despite getting 0 votes on, you know, but anyway. But I think that, like, I love Gabon, and there's a lot of people who really hate Gabon. And I think that this season is so reminiscent of Survivor Gabon because you really don't know. And there's so many ways it could go.
I agree. I really do agree. There's so many different ways that it could go. It's like, you know, I don't know if you guys do this or not, but you have your personal favorites and then you have like the ones that you think could possibly win.
Yeah.
Well, War Dog was my personal favorite. And I thought maybe like with that Wentworth move, like, could he pull this off? That'd be epic. But like in my heart of hearts, you know, I knew like he's not going to win. He's not making it, you know.
He's got a long road.
It's weird because I don't ever normally root for the person in the quote villain position, but I really did like War Dog a lot. I was sad to see him go, but at the same point, I was like, that's what you get for messing with Wentworth. You should have known better.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he broke up that 3-person alliance and Wentworth. I mean, we get to watch Wentworth for her 3rd time. She has an idol. She's sitting pretty, and War Dog breaks the hearts of millions. You know, that's what he did.
And now Lauren's the last one standing.
Which I would have never guessed.
Would have never guessed out of the 3 of them. Yeah.
No.
And she still has her idol, and nobody knows that she even has the idol, except for everybody in Extinction Island who knows that she has the idol.
I know.
Way to tell.
That was something.
I know. I agree. Whenever she said that, I was like, no, why would you tell him? Why would you tell him that? No.
Innocent poor Lauren has no idea that just happened.
Yep.
Well, hopefully Kelly gets back in the game and then it's not a problem.
Exactly. All right. So to get into the power rankings real quick, I'm going to go first because I have to get this out of the way. So I have Lauren at number 1. I went to a watch party last week and I got to watch it with Lauren's cousin, Kaylee, who thought that she was getting a shout out in our recap episode. So she watched the entire recap episode, not realizing I had recorded it before the watch party. So she watched that entire thing. She's not really like big into Survivor's first season.
I was about to say, do we have a new subscriber? It sounds like a no.
So she just had to suffer through an entire hour of Alexa and I blabbing without really knowing much about what's going on because she's trying to figure it out. This is the first season she watched. She says she wishes she would have watched earlier seasons now.
Yeah.
But her main question to me, as I put Lauren at number 1 for this week, not necessarily overall, but her main question to me was, do you think Lauren has a chance to win? So I will reveal what I said, but what do both of you think? Does Lauren actually have a chance to win this season?
I would love to see Lauren win. I like her. I've liked her from the beginning. She's been my favorite girl. But I think that there are people that could beat her. In the end, like if you put her against somebody like Gavin, I could see Gavin winning over Lauren. I would love, like I said, love to see Lauren win. I would love to see both of them in Final 3. I don't know. That's a huge question mark for me. I would love to see it. I just don't know if it's possible. I don't know if the jury will vote that way.
Alexa?
So I also have Lauren at number 1. So for what that's worth, I have Lauren pretty high up. I agree with you, Jess. I think she can get there. I think her path there is, I can see it. And she's out of friends right now. We see her with Julie for kind of the first time last week, but she also doesn't have any enemies, which I think right now works in her favor. People want Rick out. I think Gavin could be rubbing some people the wrong way. I think Ron could be rubbing some people. Aurora has been rubbing people the wrong way. Lauren hasn't bothered anyone yet. And I think even though Lauren is really good in challenges, people are going to view her fainting, they're going to see that over anything else. So they'll never say we need to get rid of her because she'll win an immunity. And so I think that really works in her favor. I think her actually winning, I think that really depends who she sits next to. I think she has a good story. And I think if she can very much set herself apart from Kelly, then I think she can absolutely win.
Yeah. I have her in my number 3 right now. Like I have her, I would love to see, like right now, my ideal final 3 is Gavin, Aurora, and Lauren. I think that'd be an awesome final 3. I think that those 3 together, like as a fan, I would love to see those 3, but I have her right now as my number 3. I would love to see her make final 3. I just think she's great.
Yeah, in the moment, because when you're put on the spot by somebody's family member, you have to be like, yeah, of course they can win. Of course. Like Lauren, as I pull off like my Queen Lauren t-shirt, and I'm like, I'm ready to go. But I do think what it's going to come down to in a season like this is the end game. And she's the only one with an idol right now. So she has the strongest case to have like to make like the best of these last 4 votes or whatever it's going to be. And if that's what she does, if she plays her idol correctly and she overcomes the fact that Wentworth and War Dog went back to back, still gets to the end, she's going to have a great argument to win the game. So if I'm watching right now at final 7, I don't think Lauren's going to win, but ask me again next week. And if she has to make some moves or make some things happen, I could easily see Lauren winning. I just worry she gets into a Troyzan position where she never has to play the idol, so she never gets to show off. Right. And then that would suck.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So, but Kayla, you can stop listening now.
Yeah. I think she could have her big moment, because I think if anybody's going to go for her, I think it's going to be Rick. And which, now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't exactly know why, because there's been enough tension between Rick and that old Lesu. So that could be her big idol moment.
Yeah. I just think it's weird because, like how we were talking about earlier, Lauren is like, she's super athletic. She's super likable, and she's beautiful. And like, I feel like the younger, like pretty girls or cute, like younger guys don't necessarily make it that far. So for me, it's odd to see her like in this position that she is now, where she's made it pretty deep into the game. So I think like subconsciously, like I'm trying not to let myself get too excited, but I really would love to see Lauren make final 3, because I think I really do agree with you, Alexa. Like it depends on who she's sitting next to in the final 3. If she can win, I would love to see it happen though. Yeah.
I think in your final 3 of Aurora, Gavin, and Lauren, I think Lauren has a really good chance there. Yeah. I think Lauren might win that. we'd have to actually go member by member, but I think she'd have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So yes, there's a possibility, right? Like there's some possibility, because right now there's nobody. Like Rick Devens is getting most of the screen time, but I don't feel like Rick Devens is going to win. And then you have Ron, who's really getting, I think, a pretty good edit, but early on it didn't seem like that good of an edit. So like, is Ron going to win this game? I don't know, but we don't have any of those big edits. Every big edit right now is on Extinction Island.
Right.
Yeah.
Only one of them's coming back, not all 9 of them. So I don't know. I cannot foresee who's going to win now. So I will just keep on saying Victoria is going to win this season until she gets voted out of the game.
That's good to stick to that.
Yeah, I feel like I have to. So who's your number 1 then, Jess? As you like rearrange everything?
Gavin. I have Gavin right now as my number 1. But the only reason why I think Aurora could possibly have a chance is I feel like Joe is like a really big advocate for Aurora. I feel like he could be a really good cheerleader for her, and like encouraging those other people. And it seems like, if you're looking at it, it's just that final 3 would be so good for, like, in my opinion, because everybody on that final 3 is likable to different people that are left in that jury. So I don't know. That's who I have though. I have Gavin. I just think everybody likes rooting for somebody that's like that, like the Nick, like Angelina put it this way, where she kind of compared Gavin as a mixture between Adam from Millennials Gen X and then Nick, like a combo of the two. And I was like, that's a great way to put it. Like you want to root for him. So I don't know. That's who I have at number 1 right now is Gavin.
Yeah. And I thought what was interesting last week is after the War Dog situation, his screen time just like skyrocketed. We saw more of Gavin last week than we had seen ever. And it was negative, like he was being very negative on War Dog and he was tired of being treated the way he was. But then he ended up being right and War Dog goes home. So normally when you see that big uptick, that means you're in trouble. But now that, like, I said this to Alexa right after the double boot episode. I said, now that none of the returnees are left, this is when we get to see like who out of these people like actually is going to win. Because up until then, it was kind of the War Dog David Kelly show.
Yeah.
Right.
And now it's not going to be anymore. Now we're going to start to, I feel like now we're going to start to see a building of Julie and Gavin and like Aurora. I mean, how great has she been the last couple of weeks? And she wasn't even on the show for 4 weeks. You know, so
God, for 2 months.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Absolutely.
All right. So Alexa, who's your number 2?
Phil, I feel like ours are going to be the exact same.
You have Victoria.
I have Victoria at number 2.
Okay, I have Victoria as well.
Yeah, well, I think that because, like what we said earlier, because all of these people seemingly have a really equal chance of winning, it's all just my assumptions and what we've talked about for 2 months, Phil. But kind of similar to Lauren, Victoria doesn't have any enemies, but Victoria does have allies. I don't think anyone's afraid of her. For the people who saying Victoria's done nothing, I think they're missing that because Victoria's obviously done a lot. She's still voted correctly every single time, but she's doing that in a way that is so unthreatening. And I don't think she even needs to hide behind anybody. And I think by the time she makes another big move, it'll be too late to get rid of her because there's only 7 people left now. And there's only 3 more formal votes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think she's fine.
Jess just fell.
Wow, you just lost me.
Jess just fell out of her chair on the ground.
Wow.
In wild disagreement.
Wow, that's how much she hates us. She
you do not like Victoria.
No, I do like Victoria. She's great.
Yeah, my reasoning with Victoria is I just don't think anybody's looking at Victoria as a threat, and I think it's a huge mistake because she's going to have a great argument to win if she gets the final 3. And she's proven to be really good at tribal councils. And she hasn't been Rick Devens levels at tribal councils, but she's been really good. She's kept her cool. When Jeff asks her a question, she's really good at giving a half answer that's good enough. And she's voted right every single time. And that is a great thing to be able to say to people. I voted right every single time. And if they say, well, you were just a goat, you were just latching on. No, I wasn't, because I was jumping around between different groups the entire time. When Julia goes home, I voted her out, despite the fact that the week before I voted with her. And then, she's been doing a great job of navigating it without being seen as the war dog, which you don't want to be seen at final 8 or final 7. And she said that if you start too many moves now and everybody sees it, then you go home. And if you don't make those moves, then the jury doesn't respect you. I think she knows that. And now is when she's going to start to pick it up.
Wow. That was a really great answer. Whenever she answered that at tribal, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
If I would have been at that tribal, I'd have been like, this girl knows how to talk. Like,
oh crap, we got to get rid of her.
We got to let her go. Yeah. For sure. See, I have her right now, and maybe I made the mistake of just overlooking how she voted the same way every single week. I have her right now sitting at number 4 for me, so still up there, not at the bottom at all. But I feel like Victoria would be a good person. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's so hard because I like all of them. I'm just sitting here looking at the list, and I'm like, wow, all of these people would be great winners.
Yeah,
that's crazy to me.
And they'd all have a really interesting arc, because Nick's was you pulled out the quote where it was I'm either going to win this game or I'm going to die trying.
Yeah.
That's a really obvious on the nose, right in your face. He's going from could have been the first boot to wins the game. That's a great arc.
Yeah.
Right now, whatever we're going to get here is going to be so much different than what we're used to seeing. And I think that's what makes it so compelling, unless somehow Chris Underwood comes back into the game and wins, or Eric Halfman or something like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this feels like or Aubrey, especially. Aubrey's really gotten oh my God, I was on the bottom the whole time. And if she were to win, that would be incredible. But
see, this is just another example of just I think this cast is phenomenal. I love them. I think that they're all so great because, gosh, I was so upset to see Eric go. I really was.
Yeah.
I was it's kind of like the Brendan Shapiro, kind of seeing him go so early. It's dang it, because if he made it far, he really could win. Yeah. So I feel like this whole list could change depending on who and when is this next person going to be brought back into the game.
Yeah.
As of right now, who do you if they did this challenge right now, who do you think would win? Who do you think would come out of that challenge?
It's so hard to even make that decision because of you have the challenge beast Joe, he's there. And so you have to factor that in. But then like you have super physical people like Kelly Wentworth is still there, but like what if they throw a puzzle in there and like Aubrey brings out the win? Like there's just you know what they're capable of. But like for the people that went out early, like we don't know, like just like how we talked about earlier, like I don't think any of us ever thought that Devins would win that challenge to come back in.
God.
But he did. And like what if that happens again where it's like not one of the obvious people like Joe or Chris coming back in or Wentworth? What if it's not one of those three and then like Reem pulls out a win and you're just like, how the heck did that happen?
How did we get here?
If Reem pulls out the win, the internet explodes. Survivor like goes on for 100 seasons. Like,
yeah,
because that would just be the most insane thing of all time. Reem would walk back onto that island and it would be the most confused anybody's ever been in the history of Survivor.
Oh, for sure.
Unbelievable.
Extinction Island was made for her. Like it was.
That's just the hardest part of this game. Is just like you never know how it's going to play out. You never do. It's so hard.
This could be the first time ever that we actually have a situation where two people voted out are in the game at the same time, like in like Final Five. Or I guess it happened with Burton and Lil, so it's not the first time ever. But this is the first time since they introduced Redemption Island, since they're introducing Edge of Extinction, that Rick Devins comes back in at the merge, stays in the game long enough that he could still be there when the next person comes back into the game. So you could have two people from Extinction Island in the final 6. Which means there's a pretty good chance one of them is going to be sitting in the final 3.
Yeah. Which would be crazy. I mean, I don't think I really, if people were smart, they wouldn't let Rick get to the end at all. No. Like,
yeah,
they need to take Rick out as soon as they can if any of them want a chance of winning.
Yeah. I learned 2 days ago that the internet doesn't really like Rick Devins. And does anybody want to shed light on that? Like what is Rick Devins doing wrong? It's based on Jess's face. Yeah.
I have no clue. I love Rick. I think that he's such a dynamic character to watch on the show. Like you love to hate him with like some of the things that he does, but it's just like he's like the underdog right now. You know that he's at the bottom. You know that people want him out, but you want him to still go to those individual immunity challenges and you want him to win. That way, whenever they get to tribal and he has the necklace around his neck, like then what? Then what are you going to do? Yeah. I don't know how people don't like Rick. It's just like some of the people on Facebook, like there are a lot of really opinionated people on the Survivor Facebook.
Yeah.
That's quite the group of people.
I will say, like, when I went to this watch party, it was a fan watch party. They do it at the same place that Johnny Fairplay's doing his watch party this week for his recording. And while you're there, you start to hear about like these people who have gotten into arguments maybe with some of the survivors. And like in person, they're not nearly as aggressive, but it's a lot easier over the keyboards. Although one of them did say that, you know, they're ready to fight Johnny Fairplay. So hopefully that would happen. That would be exciting. That happens. I'm going to be there Wednesday night for that. I want to see Johnny Fairplay and this guy brawl. But it is funny how when you're not behind the internet, they're not nearly as aggressive. Like, was anybody saying anything to you, Jess, at the finale thing last year?
No. Yeah. No, nothing like that at all. I mean, but there's a lot of people who beforehand had very strong opinions on me, and then you get to these events and you know there's probably a couple of them there and they don't say anything, so which is fine. I don't know how I would necessarily handle that. Because you can't be mean, but it's like, gosh, these people like have a lot of opinions, and whenever they are negative, like obviously, you know, you're putting yourself in a situation where people are going to have one of two viewpoints of view. Either they're going to really like you or they're really going to not like you. So it is what it is, though.
Yeah. That's really the only way you can look at it.
Yeah, that's a really reasonable way to handle that. Yeah. But yeah, the Rick thing is insane because we just watched this guy get a mud massage from a guy named War Dog. Like, how could we not enjoy that?
It was great.
Yeah, and his analogies are great. Like this guy's on TV for a living. Like there is a reason people are so captivated by him because he knows how to do this. So I don't get the Rick hate. I think the internet, what my take to Phil on this was, I think the internet finds one person per season who they just hate, and he's the one they picked.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I think a lot of it too has to do with when he came back into the game, he was handed the idol. And I think a lot of that goes to the whole male versus female thing where the females are finally finding idols. And I saw a lot of posts about this where it's like, now men aren't finding idols, so you just have to hand them to them. And I know that like, it's always like, was it made for Ben to win over Chrissy? And these crazy like conspiracy theories that are out there. And like, we've all been around Survivor long enough. Like, if they really wanted to, they'd make sure that the person they wanted to win every season won every season. War Dog would not be on Extinction Island with Wentworth, Aubrey, David, and Joe at final 8. You know, that would not be happening.
No, that wouldn't be happening.
So. And that's honestly, like, I struggle with this. I was actually just having a conversation with somebody about this today, is like, people just love to think their own opinions about the show. People love to think that it's like, that it's staged or that it's scripted or we're not really starving and this person is, you know, supposed to win. Like, I heard so many people say like, oh, well, Ben's season, like it was all set up for him to win. And I'm like, that is literally crazy. Like, that is crazy. If the producers wanted to make it where like their favorite was winning, I guarantee you that they would. Like, they have every way to do that. Like, if they wanted to do that, but it's not happening that way, like at all. So it blows my mind that some people like have those opinions about the show, which you're always going to have those people that feel so strongly in their opinions. But I just think that that's crazy because all those people would not be where they are right now on edge of extinction. They wouldn't be.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. You look at this final 7, Jess, and as you're saying, like, I really like all these people. I think all of them could win. Any of them would be a good winner. There's a lot of people out there who are going, this is the worst 7 we could have gotten out of the 18-person cast. Which
a lot of people are saying that.
Which like, I like all these people too, but I can see where they're coming from when you have on edge of extinction the gold that is Reem. You have David, Aubrey, Joe, and War Dog, and Kelly Wentworth. Like, you have so many great characters over there. That this is a really great cast. Like, that's what I was literally just about to follow up with, is like, if I can still have this opinion with all of those people on edge of extinction, then that tells you that casting did their job and they gave us a really great cast. Yeah. Because starting out the season, like, just knowing like how people had like the negative thoughts surrounding the season for whatever the case was, whenever I sat down to like look at the remaining people, I was like, I can't believe that these are the people that are left in the game. Like, it blows my mind because they're all so likable. But then you're correct. Like, if you think about like Chris is still there, and then you have Eric who's still there, which I think Eric would, I think we said previously, like, he's like the Brendan Shapiro. Like, we want to root him on. Like, he's like the dad who like is the all-American dad. And you want to root for those people. And then you obviously have all the returning players, and it's really hard for me to pick somebody to want to like root for to the very end because the cast is just that good. I think it's a phenomenal cast. Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. And I think that it's really worked out well. And I think a lot of times, like, when they do all-star seasons and things like that, everybody always loves heroes versus villains because it's all these iconic characters battling it out. But I do think that every season of every TV show, no matter what TV show it is better when the supporting characters are able to play off of the main characters. And this season had great main characters. War Dog, Wentworth, Aubrey, David, Rick, Ron. These are the main characters. And none of them might win. One of the supporting characters might win, but the supporting characters in the season are fantastic. Whereas in some seasons, they just kind of fall to the wayside. Not to throw names out there, but like Chelsea in 36, most of 36, like the supporting characters just weren't there to compete with the big people like Donathan, Dominic, Wendell, Kellen. They just weren't able to do it. And I think that's why this season's working really well, is because you can sit down, look at these 7, and everybody's going to root for somebody different out of these 7 people. Absolutely. So, Jess, you had Aurora at 2, right? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to give us a take? Because I have Aurora a little bit lower.
A bit about Aurora.
Yeah. I just feel like Aurora fits a different group than what we're used to seeing. Like, I just think she's super athletic. She's a strong female. She made that connection with Joe pretty early on. Like, she was one of the people that was like super excited about having the returning players there. And I think that Aurora right now is like my underdog. Like, I think she's in a very similar position like Rick, where like people want her out. Her name's been thrown out at several tribal councils and she's still here. And so to me, like, I feel like she kind of is like my underdog, where it's like, if she makes it to final 3, I think she could have a good argument. I think that she would have some cheerleaders on her side. I just think she's a great player. She's a challenge beast. So if she makes it far enough, I think she could have a really great chance of making final 3.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. This is really quick. You brought up a really good point about Joe, and also probably Aubrey, like championing her, assuming she gets that final 3. That's something that Phil and I had never talked about before, but the only allies we know of, or the only ally that we know of that Joe and Aubrey had, was Aurora.
Absolutely. And I mean, whenever you're on Edge of Extinction, I feel like, at least from like my perspective, if I was on a season with those people that like you've looked at from a fan's perspective, you kind of, I don't want to say idolize them, but I feel like you would value their opinion. So if you're having a conversation, let's just say Aurora's final 3, and Joe and Aubrey are like, dude, like Aurora deserves to win because of da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it makes you think like, oh crap, like, okay, maybe she actually does deserve to win. Like if Aubrey and Joe thinks that she deserves to win, like what am I missing? And then once you start like analyzing it, I just think that those are 2 really good cheerleaders to have on your side.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think if she makes it that far, she could have a really good chance. And I think she's great. I think that she has a lot of fight in her, and I'm really rooting for her.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen if Lauren and Aurora both got to final 3, because it seems like Lauren is getting the revenge for Wentworth and Aurora is getting the revenge for Joe and Aubrey. Absolutely. And it's like, who do people like more? Who do people respect more? Whose opinions are you going to listen to more? And I think that Wentworth might actually have more friends on the jury than Joe or Aubrey do. So I think that could be a really interesting dynamic of like who should we really rally behind, Aurora or Lauren in that situation.
That would be hard, because fangirl side of me would really love to see it be Lauren, but then I feel like my Survivor side, I would see it being Aurora. So it's like I have 2 different perspectives on it. So I don't know. It's just so hard. It's really hard to think in the mindset of like what these people would be thinking. But I do think, Lauren has and I think War Dog would also be cheering for Lauren. Like they were in an alliance together from jump. So you have War Dog and Kelly that would potentially be a cheerleader for Lauren. And then you have 2 very strong players that would be a cheerleader for Aurora. So it would be very interesting.
Yeah. But my number 3 is not Aurora. I actually have Julie, because I think everybody on the cast has forgotten. So Alexa and Alexa, is your 4 Gavin?
No, it is
okay,
not.
Good. So this is good. Okay, so I'll talk about Julie and Gavin real quick. So the reason I put Julie at 3 is because I think that pretty much everybody's forgotten that Julie can win. And they're underestimating the hell out of her, because if you look at this cast right now, I think people look at Lauren, they see her as an athlete. She was close with Wentworth and War Dog, but now both of them are gone. So she's kind of been declawed a little bit. You have Rick, who's really loud and in your face. You have Ron, who's really loud and in your face. You have Aurora, who is very good at challenges. Gavin, who's very good at challenges. People have forgotten about Victoria, and they've forgotten about Julie. And I think that Julie gets by this vote, especially because she's just not the biggest threat this week. And next week, she won't be the biggest threat. And I could see a little girls versus guys thing developing here, at least for this vote, when there's 4 girls and 3 guys. And those 4 girls could easily all vote together, since Lauren's kind of a wild card. So right now, I got Julie at 3, and then I put Gavin at 4 because I think that just Rick and Ron are huge threats. And I think that Aurora, I put Aurora, Rick, and Ron behind Gavin because I think that they're bigger threats, or at least they'd be targeted before Gavin would be. I could see Gavin making it to the final 3 now, which as of like 2 weeks ago, I wasn't expecting to say. But right now, I'm like, Gavin could be in the final 3. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alexa, what was your Julie take?
But no, mine was pretty similar to that, I think. And I said this last week, so this is a bit of a repeat. But to Phil's point, people have forgotten about Julie, and in a good way. Because Julie and Ron, they voted separately 2 weeks ago. And we originally thought that would be a topic of contention. But the 2 of them had like the most mature reconnection, where they were like, what, this happens. I'm still super with you. You are my number 1. And I really think that's true for them. And I think that's really going to benefit Ron, and that is going to benefit Julie, because they can still be each other's number 1s without needing to be super obvious about it. You don't see that really often. So I think that's really huge. I think Julie's fantastic in challenges. She won an individual immunity. There's nothing saying she can't do that again. But I think I think you're right, Phil. I think she's not super obvious. I think everyone is super focused on Rick right now. Everyone's focused on Ron. I think people are going to be focused on getting rid of Gavin. So, and Julie's, I can't even call it a meltdown, but that's what for the sake of this conversation, Julie's meltdown is basically forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think is going to be focused on getting rid of Gavin? Just the two, like Ron and Rick?
I think Ron and Rick, I think when Gavin and War Dog kind of had their little whatever they did at the beginning of last week's episode, that was Gavin against War Dog. So it was pretty clear that they would have been on Gavin's side. Mm-hmm. But I think from the viewer, we've seen a lot of Gavin not wanting to do what the group has been doing, which is good that he's only shown us that. But that makes me nervous for maybe there's one more time when they don't include him. Right. And then something might go poorly. But he has a great demeanor where he doesn't show it, which I would really struggle with.
A lot earlier in the season, we had Kellen on the podcast to do this. And I said to Kellen, a woman's going to win this season. And she was like, well, who are they going to sit next to win? Like, she would love that, but how's it going to happen? What's going to happen? And what I think needed to happen is exactly what's happening right now. All of the men are looking at each other as threats and thinking they're the only ones who can win and not realizing that all of the women are running circles around them right now because they're just playing into it saying, yeah, you're right. Rick is the biggest threat. War Dog is the biggest threat. Ron is the biggest threat. And the next thing you know, it's going to be 4 women and Gavin and somebody's going to be coming back from Extinction Island. And like, I think you could have a final 3 of all women. Like I could absolutely see that because I just think the men are blinded by it. Last week, them all calling the women goats, they might believe that out on the island. But you're saying we're going to get rid of the goats. Well, the goats just pulled their 5, which is greater than 3, and voted you out. Because you didn't try to really work with the goats nearly enough in that moment. So I don't know. I think a woman's going to win this season. And I think, we're at a point right now where I think Gavin's going to be the last man standing. So
I agree.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then depending on whoever it is brought back from Extinction.
Mm-hmm.
Consistently forget about that.
Edge. They keep War Dog keeps calling it Edge. He just keeps calling it Edge. Yeah.
I remember in the only exit interviews we have so far, in Keith and Wendy's exit interviews, they also just called it The Edge, which sounds super mysterious and ominous, but I guess that's easier to say than the edge of extinction every time you're talking about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why we didn't call it that, but now
we're in too deep.
It's just the edge.
Just the edge. Alexa, who's your 4? Because we both have done our 4. So
my number 4 is Aurora. And we've kind of already talked about her, but I think she's in a similar situation to Julie. My only fear for Aurora is that she doesn't have the Ron to her Julie. But Julie and Lauren, we saw them connect last week. We've seen everyone kind of interact with each other. Aurora, I still don't really know who her best friend is, who will defend her if someone says it's time to get rid of her. But I think she's done a really good, she's crushing it in challenges. So for some reason, people aren't really pointing at her about that yet, which is insane. So she could very well still win another individual immunity. And if people probably want to get rid of Rick, so Aurora will vote for Rick. There's only 7 people. There are many numbers left.
Yeah.
I have Aurora. Go ahead.
I have Victoria at 4 for mine. But it's weird because I feel like you're so right about the challenges. I feel like Aurora is just somebody that you really need to look out for in the challenges. She's great. Like she's a beast in challenges. Like how she swam in the water last week and didn't even take a breath. I was like, how did you do that? Like that's how? Like I was freaking out being underneath that thing, and she just was so calm about it. So I definitely think they need to keep their eye out for her.
Well, I think for the first time, Aurora's been crushing in challenges since the season started. For the first time, Jeff audibly said she's a challenge beast. And if I was Aurora, I'd be like, Dad, stop. Don't tell everybody. Quiet down.
Yeah. Exactly. I like Aurora a lot. I have her at 5 this week, but Aurora is the one I think has the most room to either be voted out this week or she could end up going to the final 3 and finishing first, second, third, anything. But the reason that I have her at 5 this week is because her extra vote is almost useless this week. Because at final 7, the breakdown is either going to be 4-3 in one direction or 5-2. Well, your vote, the best it can do is tie it up. So I think that because that's useless, she's not as powerful this week as she was last week or as she would be in a final 6 situation. So she doesn't have the ability to turn the game on its head this week with the extra vote. She actually has to vote with the numbers. And everybody was still throwing Aurora's name out there last week, even though everybody wanted War Dog out. So I worry that her name, if it comes up once, maybe it just keeps coming up. It keeps coming up, and you might only need 4 people, or you would need only 4 people. You might even only need 3 in some situations to actually vote Aurora out of the game, if you can trick people into a split vote or something like that. So that's where I worry for her this week, is just because the extra vote is not useful.
How much longer can she use that? A final 5?
Probably final 5. I don't know. We have to. I don't know.
On our I don't remember them specifying, or at least on air. I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I have Julie next on mine.
Okay.
That's who I have next. She's kind of been under the radar for me. I know that her and Ron are kind of working together right now. And then we did see that interaction with Lauren. But I feel like whenever Ron goes, that Julie will be looked at to potentially go. Because like if they can take out somebody like Julie, who's just kind of likable, I don't know, but it's kind of hard though, because you have like people like Aurora, who like is a challenge beast.
Mm-hmm.
This is, again, like I said, I'm having such a hard time with this because everybody's so good. Like, I'm like, no, but should I change her? Should I put her father up? Like, I don't know. I'm going to leave it.
Keep it as is.
Keep it as is. And Alexa, who's your 5? Because I think we're all going to have the same bottom 2.
Yeah. I think we are too. I have Gavin at number 5.
Okay, cool.
So I'm sure that clears everything up.
So we all have the same final bottom 2. Alexa, you want to speak on Gavin or?
No, I think actually you guys are convincing me more. I think because, and I don't really want to talk about edit too much, but I think because Gavin got so much attention last week, that makes me nervous for him this week. But you guys are right. Like and I forget who had said this, but he is just so cool, calm, and collected that even when he's mad, I don't realize he's mad until I rewatch it. And that's such a good personality trait to have. So I think Gavin's fine. I think he was looking a little scary in challenges, but luckily Rick's won 2 back-to-back, which is completely going to take the challenge target off of his back.
So with these last 2 now, instead of like saying where they're at yet, just what do you think is going to end up happening with this advantage menu, Jess?
Advantage menu.
The one that Ron got early in the game, and in the preview, he's handing it to Rick and saying, "I'm giving this to you."
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Because I'm just trying to figure out how it's going to play in, and if Ron giving this to Rick, and then it looks like everybody's going through Rick's bag, and Rick comes back and he catches them. Yeah. With all of that going on, does that mean Rick's going home, or is he going to realize that this is a fake and it's actually putting a bigger target on Ron's back?
Wow, I literally did not even think about any of that. Like, I actually even forgot necessarily about that stuff, and like the preview. Gosh, they did look through his bag, which is crazy, by the way, because I never did that. Mm-hmm. Like, I just couldn't do it. Like, you have very little privacy while you're out there. So, like, to think about going through somebody's stuff, I don't think that I ever could necessarily do that. So that blows my mind. But in my eyes, what I see happening, the way that I factored it, was just like one of the 2 of them, I feel like is going to go home next. It just depends on who wins. If one of them wins the immunity idol. In my opinion, like if let's just say like Rick somehow finds a way to win another one, then I feel like Ron would be next. But if neither one of them was to win, then I see Rick going next.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's been interesting. I've been reading a lot about people wondering which is like the worst or like the weakest group of survivors physically, like this late in the game. And I definitely, and like, this isn't insulting because these weren't people who were put on the show to be strength, except for maybe Aurora, but nobody else in this final 7 are Lauren too, but like, Lauren too. So you have like 2, but like, I think there's been an exaggeration on how weak they all are because now Survivor challenges aren't really about just strength, except for when you're swimming underneath, and Aurora can hold her breath and is like amazing at that. But like, when I look at a season like Australia, the reason Colby won every single challenge in Australia is because nobody else was even remotely good at challenges. So everybody thought Colby was this like great challenge competitor, but in reality, he wasn't. He was just playing against people who weren't that strong. Survivor has changed so much. I don't think you have to be the most physical, but it is interesting how like the final 7 here are not physical at all. And I think we've lost Jess to a picture of Jess.
Yeah.
We can hear you though.
I'm fixing it right now. It's like low battery.
Oh,
on my,
no.
phone, so it cut off the camera.
It's
You
a
are
good
good.
photo though. I think Carl's cut out the one time and it was like his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, what? Who's this?
Who is this person?
Let's see if it'll turn back on. I have the power on now.
Okay.
But Phil, to your point, Colby then got served by Coach how many seasons later? So
exactly,
it's all contextual.
It really is. So I think yes, this might be a weaker bunch of for a final 7, but I don't think it's the weakest by any means.
I don't think I luckily haven't seen that on the internet trolling that I've done, because I think this crew is, I mean, obviously they're pretty darn strong, but I guess I haven't seen anyone actually say that they don't think it is. So I guess now everyone's going to say it. But yeah, I mean, Rick's run 2 in a row, and I know one was with the aid of St. David, but I think Rick has some momentum too. So I actually think Rick could win individual immunity again this week. But to Jess's point, if he doesn't, I think he's the one who goes.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But I do have Rick at 6 and Ron at 7.
Same.
Yeah. You guys are really good with each other.
We do this too much. We know how the other one works.
This is why we like to bring in a third party to tell us why we're wrong. Because we were so set the week that Wentworth went home, and Sunday was our guest, and she put Wentworth at spot 6, and we both had Wentworth at spot 1. Well, Sunday was right, so we should listen to Sunday more. Yeah. So
it's almost as if we should listen to you guys who have actually played the game instead of armchair quarterbacks or whatever it is.
But Jess, which order do you go?
I have Ron and then Rick.
Okay, so she goes the opposite of us.
Mm-hmm.
With Ron, I think with this advantage menu thing, I just don't know who. We don't know enough about the advantage menu. Did he tell Julie he had this? Because then if Julie catches wind of this, she's going to know it's fake.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because this could blow up in his face, but at the moment, I don't see how it could, because I don't know if anybody else knows about it. And also, did the instructions have to say this expires after 3 votes?
Yeah, but he can rip that part off, I think, because I think it was at the top. At the bottom? I think it was either at the top or the bottom, so you can probably rip that off and just make it look like
okay. If it's at the top or the bottom, then that obviously makes sense.
Yeah, I think he probably would have had to have ripped something off, so he wouldn't have known about it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, why is Rick going to believe him? Why would Ron be giving him this? And I know that they talked last week. They talked last week about we're the 3 strongest. We need to take out the goats. But that was the most Ron and Rick have interacted all season. So why all of a sudden would you believe this?
I just feel for people like that, whenever you know that you're in a similar situation where you both could potentially get voted out next, it'd be good to establish some sort of trust with that person. So that might be what they're trying to think about at this point, just establishing something.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be his agenda in doing that. That's of course what I would see with that.
And he could frame it as, oh, I got this advantage, but I'm not allowed to play it for me. I have to give it to someone, and I trust you, and I want to be the one to give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if it's his and he gives it away, then yeah, that's super sketchy. But if he frames it as if he has to, then I think that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. The whole has to thing. I'm
really sorry. I don't know why it's not connecting back.
No, you were good.
It's fine. Like we said, the picture makes sense. If it was when you're talking to Carl and you're staring at Gina, it might have even been his daughter, but it's very confusing to hear the voice coming out with the picture that doesn't really relate.
Carl coming out of Gina's body. It's quite
But do you have any other bold predictions here, Jess? I mean, already your Gavin one winning, I feel is a pretty bold prediction, at least in terms.
I don't know. I just see it's really hard for me with this group. Like we've all been saying, this is just a phenomenal group. I keep on looking back and I'm wow, we got really lucky with this group. But then again, I feel we would have been lucky with any of them. This season definitely did not disappoint, at least with what they've given us so far. I really just think that Gavin is just so, if he makes it to the end, and they take a step back and they just see how likable he is, you're going to want to root for him. Just how you wanted to root for Adam or just how you wanted to root for Nick. Like you want to see somebody like that win. So, and plus I would really love to see one of my original favorites be able to pull out a win. But yeah, I think I would really love to see that happen. As far as like bold predictions, I am super scared that everybody on Edge right now knows about Lauren's idol. I don't necessarily think that's the best situation.
Especially since Lauren's not going to know that the person coming back knows about it until they come, like, ever. She's never going to know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a little scary for me to know that like people know that information. But I think my biggest factor, the only thing that could like throw a wrench into everything is just who that final person is going to be. That's going to be really interesting to see who it is.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. This is
not a clue.
I am just completely up in the air on this one. So I'm like, anything you say, Jess, I kind of believe part of it because like I don't know.
Great take to me.
Yeah, I don't know at this point. I really don't. I don't know if it's even going to get any easier. Like I thought the double boot episode would be the hardest one, and then it would start to clear up. And then the double boot episode happened, and I was like, well, that cleared up nothing. And then War Dog going home cleared up nothing. Like there's nothing obvious on this season right now. So I think any theory is a good theory.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like whenever we discussed like how this was going to work and like the power rankings, I sat here and rearranged it so many times because I don't know. It's so strange because you really do normally have a sense by now of like, okay, like everybody likes this person, so they're probably going to be voted out next. These three are going to make it to the end or probably will make it to the end. And then you're going to have this person winning. Like a really easy season for me to like sit back and recall if you're not talking about like super duper recent within like the past like 2 seasons. In that situation where like Troyzan went to final 3. Like I literally called that from the second episode of that whole season. I recall telling my mom, I'm like, Troyzan is going to end up making it to final 3 and he's going to sit there depending on who the other 2 are. And the other 2 are probably going to split the votes. But I remember saying that like sometimes it's just so clear cut where like, like this person's probably going to make final 3 and process of elimination will leave you with how the rest of it's going to play out. This one, this season, not happening. I really don't know.
Yeah. And I felt like on your season, like it was everybody figured like Angelina's making final 3 because at that point, a lot of people wanted to go to final 3 with Angelina. And then Nick, I felt like, a lot of people started assuming Nick's going to get there and he's going to get there and he's going to win. And right now, like, despite the fact that we're calling everybody a goat, when you call 4 people goats and there's 7 people left, all 4 of them aren't goats. You know what I mean? Like it's different if there's just one person where it's like, if they get to the end, they get 0 votes. Okay. They probably get to the end. We had Philip Shepard, even though he got 1 vote, even Natalie Tenorelli, she gets to the end, gets no votes. Like you could see that coming, but there's not 4 people who are going to sit there. And if they all sit next to each other, somebody's got to get votes. So
you have to vote for somebody.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Well, we're still staring at the picture. I
wonder if there's like a way, like, is there like a way I can reconnect it or something? You guys know better than I do.
I don't know. What do you think, Phil? Normally, I always say like X out and come back in, but
okay,
that's obviously.
Do that really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go for it. We'll chat.
Yeah, we'll talk. So Alexa and I are gonna be doing our Q&A after this. For everybody for April. So for you $5 April people, don't worry, it's coming.
Sorry, we took a little while, but
there she is. Okay, Jess is back.
I'm here.
You made it. Yeah, it's weird how that works sometimes, and then it goes away, and then it comes. I don't know.
We've seen it all.
Technology is crazy.
We had Joe Mena. He died on us halfway through, and then he had to go plug in, charge for a little bit, and come back in. So we've been there. So.
Well, you guys are doing a great job rolling with the punches.
we're trying. We're trying. But so I guess you didn't really answer this question. You dodged it really hard. Who's coming back from Edge of Extinction? You gotta give one name.
It's just so hard just because like, if I knew what the challenge was, I feel like I'd have a better understanding on it. That's just so hard. I don't know. I have no clue because it's just like there's so many, like Survivor has just evolved so much to where like the challenges can literally work for anyone. It just depends on your luck that day. It depends on your determination. And I think all these people are going to be determined. But if I'm going to throw out one name, let's do Chris.
Okay.
All right.
Chris Underwood, third person voted off of Survivor Edge of Extinction. Jess is predicting he will finish in the top 7 of this season. How crazy is that? Like
we'll see.
It's crazy.
I mean, he did. I can't remember how he actually did in the first challenge, but he was like the main provider. Like I guess until Joe came, Joe's probably taken that role over now, but I think Chris is a good choice.
Yeah. It's just hard because I would love to see so many people get brought back into the game. I feel like I would like Joe. He would be awesome, and he's always awesome in challenges. But I feel like I don't know. What if he just has bad luck and he doesn't get it? So I'll do Chris. We'll do that one.
All
what
right.
do you guys think?
You go first, Phil.
I'll go first. I think Aubrey has a really good chance because she has the advantage where she's been practicing part of it.
Oh, yeah.
So she has a really good chance. But I am sticking with my preseason prediction, and I am saying Mr. War Dog is actually going to get back in from Extinction Island. I said before the season when he was like all over the internet and going crazy, I said, this is a man who has the confidence of a man who took down Joe in the Edge of Extinction challenge and got back into the game.
Yeah.
And now that he's gone, I'm like, he was terrible in every challenge. But, the long con, he's Sawyer from Lost. He's playing the long con, and I think he's coming back in. I think that he's been dogging it a little bit. There's literally no pun intended, but it just happened.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. But
we need to end this.
Yeah, I think he was. And now he's going to come back in. And I just think he's going to be able to put up a good fight there. And he hasn't had to live on Edge of Extinction for that long. So he's gotten to eat some food. He's gotten to be a part of the game. And the other people, I think, they're not eating nearly as much. And, you're probably bored out of your mind just waiting for that one day. When is it finally going to happen? So I think that Mr. War Dog, that was my preseason. I'm sticking with it.
I think it's someone who was voted out more recently. I think it could be Kelly. I think whoever is voted out this week probably has one of the better chances. Anyone who's got a belly full of that mountain of pizza. I think you already have the experience and you're already running through the game where it's not, you haven't been on pause for a month like Reem.
Yeah.
You will have only been on pause for a week. So I think those people have much more of an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree. Okay, Jess, do you watch The Amazing Race or no?
Mm-mm.
No, you didn't watch it. Okay, I wanted to see if you thought Brett and Chris were going to win, but they're not. I just wanted to throw it out there in case you had watched it.
Oh, no. I was hardcore Survivor. It's funny because actually one of my really close friends is a huge Big Brother fan, and she liked Survivor also, but Big Brother's her big thing. And we tried to watch this past season, not the celebrity one, but the one before that. And I'm just but Survivor, come on. I don't know. I'm just a big Survivor person. So that's been my CBS show.
Yeah, we only started watching The Amazing Race because Chris and Brett, and because of Rupert and Laura and Eliza and Corinne. It's entertaining, but man, yeah, Survivor's its own special thing. You can't really have theories on The Amazing Race, so that was going to be your easy question of what's your theory on who wins The Amazing Race, because it looks like it's going to be an Amazing Race team, but
call someone's going to sit in traffic next week.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well. Is there anything else we didn't cover, Alexa? Or is there anything we gotta
I don't know. Do we do the eliminator game? Even though you and I are both out.
Well, we can't do anything, and Jess can only pick Julie. So
okay. So maybe it's
so
not.
Julie is locked in. Jess, we do this eliminator game thing, which early in the season it's a lot more fun. Let's just put it that way. But you pick one player each week that you don't think is going to be voted out. And so as you're going, you're running out of people because you can only pick each player once, and then other people are getting voted out. The problem is the only person that you could pick this week is Julie. So do you want to pick Julie?
Yeah, Julie.
Yeah. Alexa and I are out. Alexa took War Dog last week, and War Dog has literally been trolling the chat the entire time, just waiting for Alexa to make her eliminator pick tonight because she can't make one because she picked War Dog last week.
Well, I don't tweet a ton, but War Dog tweeted that last night, to which I responded, I wonder who you're going to vote for this week. And all the internet people were like, oh shit. And I was like, oh, I have some Twitter game. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at
So
you.
take that, Mr. War Dog.
Yeah, exactly. War Dog the troll, getting trolled back. All right, Jess, well, do you have any like last words you want to say? Any final thing here?
I know that I feel like I'm just being a dead horse, but I'm very impressed with the season and the cast and the people that we're left with. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm really pulling hardcore for these three that I have right here. I'd love to see Gavin, Lauren, and Aurora. I like them all for such different reasons. But I just, clap my hands to CBS because this has been a fantastic season. A group of very dynamic people that are just very appealing and easy to cheer on. So props to CBS, props to this season because it's great. And I'm happy that this is the season that was set to follow up our season because I think it's a really nice treat to be able to watch all of these people and to fall in love with Survivor for the reason of everything that happened before I was on the show. Just like loving the show for what it is and the people that are on there. Because like obviously I'm a little biased towards my season because I know them. Like I root for them in different ways, but these people are all fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of it plays out, and I'm really excited for whoever wins because they're gonna win in a group of really great people.
There you go. Alexa, take us home before I ruin this. Yeah, take us home now before I ruin everything Jess just said.
Okay, so we will be live. For those of you who are patrons, and if you are not, please become a patron immediately. For those of you who are $5 patrons and up, we are about to do our Q&A podcast, which as we've started to advertise, people used to ask us Survivor questions, and now they just dig into our personal lives, which people are enjoying. So that's what you guys want to hear about. We'll talk about it. But in the meantime, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We are creeping towards 4,700 subscribers on YouTube, which is super exciting. So hit that subscribe button. And for those of you who are not a patron, Phil and Vaughn will be back to do a recap on Wednesday. I am not available on Wednesday, but I will be back the week after. So, and also Vaughn's like,
yeah, everybody wants to listen to Vaughn anyway.
you all will always want to listen to him instead of me. So tune into that recap.
I have to say, this is the first time he's making a public appearance since his shameful fantasy draft. So he's finally come to terms that it's okay for his draft to be as bad as it was. So yeah,
exactly. So that's what they'll talk about the whole time. So yeah, we'll be as we mentioned last week. Like we have been podcasting a ton. Phil and Will, they recapped last week's Amazing Race on Friday, so make sure to watch that. So yeah, we'll be back right after this. And Jess, thank you so much for coming on. That was fantastic.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.